You can love someone for 50 years and still wake up feeling like a stranger to them and to yourself. As a doctor, I've seen how aging men slowly drift not just from their partners, but from the strength they once knew. It doesn't happen all at once. Energy fades, confidence dims, connection weakens. But here's the truth. Your body is not broken. It's asking to be understood. I'm Dr. Nolan, and today, we're going to trace the hidden threads between male health, hormone shifts, and the quiet unraveling of closeness, so you can rebuild from the inside out. You don't always feel it happening, not at first. One day, you walk a little slower than usual. The next, you notice your feet are colder, your mind foggier after meals, your energy drained before the day ends. And when you sit beside the person you've loved for decades, something feels different. Not wrong, just dimmed, like a light bulb losing its glow. For men after 60, this isn't just aging, it's circulation. And when blood flow slows down, it doesn't just affect your legs or your heart. It quietly rewrites how you connect, how you feel, even how you love. The cardiovascular system is your body's silent communicator. Every vessel, every beat, every pulse is sending oxygen and life where it's needed. But after 65, average arterial elasticity declines by up to 25%. Blood doesn't move as freely. Muscles feel heavier. Brain clarity dips. And areas of the body tied to physical intimacy and emotional presence begin to feel quiet. It's easy to miss the connection. You think you're just tired, that maybe your relationship is in a natural lull. But what if it's not distance in the heart, but narrowing in the vessels over time? This reduced flow reshapes how you show up in your marriage. You become quieter, less engaged, more hesitant. Even if the love hasn't changed, the body's ability to express it through warmth, energy, initiative has been altered. I once had a patient in his early 70s, quiet man, gentle with his words. He said, "Doc, I still love her the same. But when I reach for her hand, I feel distant from myself." What he didn't know is that his circulation had dropped so steadily that his extremities were being starved of sensation, and his emotions followed. Now here's the good news: circulation is not a fixed sentence. With daily walking, warm hydration, leafy greens like arugula and beetroot, and simple stretching routines, men have seen up to 17% improvement in blood flow within 30 days. That's not a number, it's a second chance. So if you've been feeling more tired, more disconnected, or more unsure of how to bridge the quiet spaces between you and your partner, don't just ask what's wrong with the relationship. Ask what your blood is trying to tell you. Because when circulation improves, something remarkable happens. Your hands feel warmer, your thoughts get sharper, and the desire to reach across the silence to truly connect returns without force. Just like that light bulb, glowing again. It often starts with a quiet fade. You still wake up early, still go through your routines, but something feels out of rhythm. The motivation to start projects lingers but doesn't spark. Your voice feels softer in a conversation. And when your wife leans in, you smile. But there's a hesitation beneath it. What you're noticing isn't failure. It's a shift in chemistry. And it happens to nearly every man as he ages. Testosterone, the hormone most tied to vitality and initiation, declines steadily about 1% per year after 40. By the time you're in your 70s, you may have 30-35% less than you did in your prime. But this isn't just about energy or muscles. Testosterone affects how present you feel, how quickly you respond, how deeply you want to participate in life, not just exist alongside it. Men tell me they feel like observers in their own homes. They're physically present, but emotionally slow to rise. That's not weakness. That's biochemistry without guidance. And it matters, because your hormones are not just behind your drive. They shape how you love, how you react, how you make decisions. One man, recently retired, told me, "I still love the life I've built, but I don't feel like the man who built it." That's the quiet drift. Not into illness, but into stillness too still. But here's the truth that rarely gets said: you're not losing yourself. You're adjusting to a new balance. And that balance can be supported. Foods like salmon, pumpkin seeds, and olive oil help restore hormonal patterns. Strength training twice a week, just light resistance, can raise testosterone levels naturally. Deep sleep, even just 7 hours a night, helps regulate not only testosterone, but cortisol, the hormone that blunts your emotional and physical drive when left unchecked. Hormones aren't just chemical numbers. They are the rhythm beneath your marriage, the undercurrent of how you speak, respond, even initiate a walk or a moment of kindness. So if you've noticed the shift, if you've looked in the mirror and seen someone a little more hesitant, a little less certain, pause before you label it as aging. It may be your body asking for a different kind of fuel, a new kind of rhythm. Because when your chemistry stabilizes, you don't just regain physical vitality, you return to yourself with warmth, with steadiness, and with the quiet confidence that your presence still means everything. Most men never hear about it. It's not discussed over coffee with old friends, and your doctor may not mention it unless you ask. But beneath the surface of how you walk, stand, and hold yourself, there's a group of muscles that quietly shapes how strong you feel as a man. It's called the pelvic floor. And after 60, it becomes one of the most important parts of your body to understand. These muscles sit like a hammock, supporting your bladder, lower bowel, and other functions tied to how you feel in your body, especially when it comes to control, stability, and connection. As you age, this area naturally weakens. By your 70s, many men experience leakage when coughing, an urgency they didn't have before, or a dull sense that something's changed down low, but can't quite say what. That shift isn't just mechanical. It can quietly chip away at your sense of strength. When you don't trust your body, you pull back socially, emotionally, and intimately. You second-guess yourself, not because you've lost love, but because you've lost control over something that used to be automatic. I remember a retired mechanic who came to see me after canceling dinner plans for the 3rd time in a week. "Doc," he said, "I just don't feel solid anymore." He wasn't sick, but his pelvic muscles had weakened so much that standing or sitting for long periods left him unsettled. He felt unsure not just in posture, but in presence. The solution isn't complicated. With just 8 minutes a day of focused pelvic floor exercises, men over 65 have reported up to a 70% improvement in control and comfort within 6 weeks. No machines, no medications, just intention. Start by tightening those muscles gently, like you're stopping the flow of urine, and hold for 5 seconds. Release. Repeat 10 times. That's it. Gradually, your confidence begins to return not just physically, but emotionally. You sit straighter, you move with more certainty, and quietly, without fanfare, you begin to reclaim the parts of yourself that once stepped back. You don't need to see the muscle to know it's working. You'll feel it in how you walk through the world, in how you greet your wife, in how you carry the weight of your day without bracing for it. Sometimes, the greatest change in a man's life begins in the place no one talks about, but every man deserves to strengthen. He sits down, exhales slowly, and glances at the clock for the third time in an hour. There's nothing urgent on the calendar, but his chest feels tight. His mind spins quietly, not loud enough to call panic, but enough to keep him from peace. This is how anxiety often settles in for older men, not as a storm, but a quiet tightening that blunts clarity, energy, and even desire. And it shows up far more than we realize. By the time most men reach 70, their bodies react more strongly to stress. Cortisol, the primary stress hormone, spikes faster and takes longer to return to baseline. What this means in real terms is simple. A minor disagreement at the breakfast table can make your heart race for hours. A change in routine, even something small like a delayed prescription or an unexpected visit, can stir a pressure that stays in your chest, in your gut, in your jaw. But the consequences go deeper. When cortisol lingers, it reduces nitric oxide, the compound your blood vessels rely on to expand and circulate freely. And when that flow narrows, both your mental focus and your ability to respond in intimate moments become disrupted. Your body doesn't feel like it used to, and worse, it doesn't feel like yours. One man, 68 years old, told me his biggest fear wasn't illness, it was losing his calm in front of his wife. "She looks at me like I've gone somewhere," he said, "and sometimes I have." The nervous system, when overstimulated by chronic worry, can create emotional distance not because love fades, but because presence disappears. But there is a way back. Daily breathing patterns, simple 4-7-8 rhythms, can reduce blood pressure by up to 10 points over 6 weeks. Gentle movement in the morning, like a 5-minute walk before breakfast, resets the brain's amygdala, where emotional triggers live. Even writing down the 3 things that make you tense before bed, just naming them, can lower next-day anxiety. And if you've felt more irritable lately, quicker to withdraw, slower to reach out, it may not be about your marriage at all. It may be your nervous system asking for relief. Your strength has never been about stoicism. It has always been about regulation, knowing when to pause, when to let go, and when to breathe. If you feel overwhelmed by the little things, that's not weakness. That's signal. And the body listens when the mind softens. Because sometimes, restoring intimacy doesn't begin with action. It begins with calm. Most nights, he lies in bed by 9:30. He doesn't fall asleep right away, not like he used to. Sometimes he dozes off only to wake at 2 a.m., staring into the dark with thoughts that never quite quiet. By morning, he's stiff, groggy, and just a little further from the man he remembers being. Sleep, in later life, becomes one of the most misunderstood forms of medicine. It's not just rest, it's the hour when the body rebalances itself. Testosterone production rises during the first stages of deep sleep. Melatonin regulates mood and memory consolidation. Even blood vessels soften, repair, and allow more oxygen to reach the brain. But when sleep is broken, all of this gets interrupted, and so does connection. Men over 65 who sleep less than 6 hours a night often see a 10 to 15% drop in hormonal levels tied to focus, drive, and emotional resilience, not to mention the inflammation that accumulates slow, invisible, and exhausting. The truth is, many men wake up tired not because they didn't rest, but because their body never got the chance to restore. And this fatigue has emotional consequences. You're more impatient, less open. You nod instead of respond. You retreat without meaning to. One woman in her 70s told me, "He still kisses me goodnight, but I can tell his thoughts are already somewhere else." Sometimes love falters, not from loss, but from depletion. The good news is, sleep patterns can be improved. Exposure to natural light in the morning, even just 10 minutes on the porch, resets your body's circadian clock. Cutting screen time after 8 p.m. allows melatonin to rise naturally. Herbal teas like lemon balm or chamomile can reduce nighttime cortisol levels by 20% within weeks. And don't underestimate hydration. Dehydration disrupts the body's sleep hormones more than most men realize. It's also okay to talk about this with your partner. Let her know you're trying, that you're not pulling away, but your nights haven't been restful. That small truth might do more for closeness than any grand gesture. Because when a man sleeps well, he doesn't just wake up clearer, he wakes up softer, more able to listen, more ready to feel. And in those early hours, when the world is still quiet, love has room to come forward again. He always said he had a simple appetite toast in the morning, coffee midday, something quick in the evening, nothing fancy. But by 7 p.m., the sugar cravings began. Just a cookie, maybe two. A small scoop of ice cream after the news. Something to settle the nerves, he'd say. What he didn't know is that those small choices were doing more than raising his blood sugar. They were reshaping his emotional rhythms, thinning out his energy, and slowly pulling him away from the connection he once had with the woman sitting across from him. By age 70, insulin sensitivity can drop by 25 to 30%. That means sugar hits harder, stays longer, and interferes more deeply with how your body produces and responds to hormones. Glucose spikes at night don't just keep you from sleeping, they increase cortisol, dampen testosterone, and inflame the very vessels your emotions rely on to move clearly. You may think, it's just food. But the truth is, food is feedback. Every bite tells your brain what to expect tomorrow. Clarity or fog, calm or irritation, interest or withdrawal. And when your body feels erratic, your relationships follow. A short temper at dinner, a distant response to your wife's question, a hesitation to initiate a walk or a shared moment. Not because you don't care, but because your biochemistry is dragging you into the background of your own life. But this is reversible. In clinical studies, older adults who replaced refined sugars with slow-burning carbohydrates like lentils, steel-cut oats, or sweet potatoes saw a 22% improvement in mood stability within 3 weeks. Even adding a thumb of fresh ginger to warm water twice a day reduces inflammation and supports blood vessel flexibility. These aren't diets, they're recalibrations. And hydration. Don't overlook it. One of the most overlooked reasons for afternoon irritability and evening sadness in men over 70 is mild dehydration. A simple 16 ounces of water before lunch and before bed can lift mood and regulate hormone activity overnight. What you eat doesn't just affect your body, it affects the tone in your voice, the patience in your eyes, the willingness to listen. If you've been feeling off with your partner, or if the house feels quieter than it used to, maybe it's not about distance. Maybe it's inflammation, or sugar, or missing micronutrients whispering through your bloodstream, asking you to return to balance. Because a nourished man doesn't just think more clearly, he relates more fully. And sometimes, the first step back to your relationship is what's on your plate. It wasn't meant to be a confrontation, just a gentle question over a Sunday call. "Dad," she said, "have you talked to Mom lately?" Really talked, and for a moment, he didn't know how to answer. He paused, scratched at his chair arm, and said, "Well, we've been around each other." But even he knew that wasn't the same. As men grow older, many shift into routine's quiet breakfasts, reading in the same chair, walking side by side without words. It feels like peace, but sometimes it's just distance dressed in habit. And for adult children watching from the outside, it's easy to see what a parent can't always name, that the house has grown quieter, and not in a comforting way. By your 70s, communication often becomes more functional than emotional. You discuss groceries, the weather, who took which pill. But what slips away are the check-ins, the shared reflections, the small vulnerabilities that used to hold the marriage together when everything else felt uncertain. And this silence, it doesn't mean the love is gone, but the bridge between you and your partner starts to thin. Many women, especially after menopause, feel emotional isolation more acutely. They may not say it, but they notice when your responses shorten, when your tone hardens, when you reach for the remote instead of her hand. In men, these moments are often mistaken for disinterest, but more often, they're rooted in physical fatigue, sleep disruption, or chronic tension in the body. When the system is off, words don't rise naturally. That's where the daughter's voice matters. She doesn't see her father as weak. She sees him as worthy of more connection, of speaking, not just sitting, of offering, not just existing. Her question isn't judgment, it's invitation. If this resonates, start small. One evening this week, ask your partner how she's really feeling about aging, about the day, about anything. Not to fix it, just to witness it. You might be surprised what she's been waiting to say. Connection isn't about grand gestures, it's about presence. And often, the first step back wasn't between husband and wife, it's through a daughter's eyes, reminding you what's still possible. Because when someone outside the story reflects it back to you, you finally see what's been quietly missing inside. She doesn't complain much, never has. But lately, she moves more slowly in the mornings. Her sighs linger longer. Her smile softens, but it doesn't always reach her eyes. You notice these things in passing, then forget until the quiet between you stretches just a little too long. Men often forget that aging is a duet. As your body changes, hers does too, sometimes in ways even she doesn't fully speak about. After menopause, a woman can lose up to 20% of her bone density in the first few years. The warmth in her joints fades. Her sleep becomes fragmented. Estrogen dips, affecting not only physical comfort, but emotional regulation, memory, and sensitivity. She may not say anything, but she feels more vulnerable in her skin, more tired from nights that don't restore. more unsure about how to ask for closeness when her body doesn't respond the way it used to. And when you grow quiet, she may interpret that as confirmation that she's no longer desired, no longer seen. I had a patient, a woman in her early 70s, who told me her greatest sadness wasn't about health. It was wondering if her husband still saw her the way he once did. "He's kind," she said, "but I feel like a shadow now, not a partner." She wasn't asking for passion. She was asking for presence. Sometimes the best medicine for both of you isn't found in a bottle. It's in a soft word before bed. A hand gently placed on her back in the kitchen. A warm breakfast made without asking. These gestures go deeper than hormones. They rebuild trust in the body, in the moment, and in one another. You may be managing your own changes, low energy, disrupted sleep, uncertain mood, but don't forget that she is too. You are not alone in this, and neither is she. Try asking her one question tonight, not about the bills or the news, but about how she's feeling in her body. Her answer may come slowly, or all at once. Either way, you've offered something far more lasting than a solution. You've offered room to be real. Because aging isn't just a solo journey, it's a mirror. And sometimes, looking at her gently helps you see yourself more clearly too. He sits in the same recliner every morning, a book nearby, glasses perched on his chest, but he's not reading. He's thinking about the hallway that feels longer now, the chair across from him that used to be full of conversation, and about the quiet inside his own skin. Not pain exactly, just a soft ache for something he can't quite name. This is the voice many men don't speak aloud at 80. I didn't know I'd miss that part of me. They're not talking about youth or adventure or ambition. They're talking about presence, about feeling like a man in their body, not just a body getting older. By this stage, blood flow has slowed significantly. Muscle mass may have declined by 40% from midlife. Memory occasionally slips. Even food doesn't taste quite the same. But the greatest loss isn't always physical. It's that subtle inner erosion when you stop initiating, stop reaching, stop believing your presence still matters to someone else. And yet, even now, that quiet part of you is not gone. It's only been hushed. I once spoke with a man who had recently turned 83. He told me, "I still feel things. I just don't know where to put them anymore." He missed the feeling of purpose, not grand, but personal. The small gestures, the shared looks, the ability to comfort with his hands, not just his words. What he was mourning wasn't youth, it was access to his own tenderness. But even at 80, this can shift. Daily walking just 4,000 steps has been shown to reduce cardiovascular risk and improve cognitive sharpness in men over 75. Gentle stretching with breath work in the mornings improves mood, blood flow, and sense of self. More importantly, intentional connection over small restores emotional grounding. There's one more thing that surprised him. His granddaughter had started visiting every Thursday, not for advice, but to sit, to ask questions, to hold his hand. "You have a lot more left in you, Grandpa," she told him once, and for the first time in months, he believed it. You may be older, you may feel like parts of you have dimmed, but never forget your capacity to love, to reach, to renew is not bound to age. It's bound to intention. If you're looking in the mirror, wondering who's still in there, try this sit beside someone. Say one true thing, and let the connection remind you. You didn't lose that part of yourself. You just stopped calling it forward. Sometimes the most powerful shift doesn't come from a breakthrough. It comes from a quiet return. No fireworks, no fanfare. Just a small moment when you decide to show up again, not for the world, but for yourself. There comes a point in every man's later years when the outside noise has softened. The job is behind you. The children are grown. Even the calendar seems less urgent. But that silence can be disorienting. You're left with space, and the question of who you are, without the roles you used to wear. For many men, this is when they begin to feel invisible, even in their own homes. They stop initiating touch. They nod more than they speak. They tell themselves it's just the natural course of aging. But what if it's not? What if this quiet stage of life isn't a slow fade, but an invitation? Closeness doesn't require words. It doesn't require a fix. It asks for presence, sitting with your wife at the edge of the bed and saying, "I missed you today." Pausing before you turn in for the night to offer her a glass of water. Looking her in the eye during breakfast, not out of obligation, but recognition. These gestures, repeated gently, begin to rewrite the distance. Your nervous system calms. Your confidence returns. Your hormones, though quieter than in your youth, respond to warmth, consistency, care, and so does hers. Intimacy may not look the way it did decades ago, but it becomes deeper rooted, not in desire alone, but in devotion. Even your body responds. Gentle movement, slow meals, sunlight in the morning. These aren't habits for longevity. They are acts of dignity. They remind your mind and your muscles that you are still choosing to be here, to feel, to love. I knew a man once who began every morning with a simple phrase to his wife of 52 years, "Still us." They didn't need much, just the affirmation that even as time changed their bodies, it had not erased who they were to each other. So today, if you felt like a quieter version of yourself, if the mirror reflects a man who's still listening for a part of himself he used to hear more clearly, start with presence. Not performance, not perfection, just presence. Because in the end, returning home to yourself is the beginning of everything else that still matters. You've just walked through some of the quietest, most personal corners of a man's life, the shifts in energy, the silent spaces between heartbeats, the distance that sometimes grows between two people who still care deeply. And maybe somewhere in this conversation, you saw yourself or the man you're becoming. If that's true, pause for a moment. Let it settle. Because the goal isn't to go backward. It's to return to yourself, to your body, to the rhythms that made you feel alive. Whether you're in your 60s, 70s, or even into your 80s, it's not too late to rebuild closeness, not just with the one beside you, but with the one within you. And if this made you reflect today, let someone else feel that too. Share it. These aren't just health lessons. They're reminders that aging with dignity is still possible. And connection, it's still yours to give. When you're ready, our next step goes even deeper into the foundation of strength, because what you put in your body matters more than ever. Join me in our next video. 3. Vital vitamins for men over 60. Sometimes, the smallest changes nourish the biggest parts of who you are. Until then, be gentle with yourself. You're not fading, you're refining.